As you've clicked on this video, I'm going to guess that there might have been times in the past where you've been trying to play your favourite band's riffs or write some of your own and ended up getting really frustrated because it didn't sound exactly how you wanted it to. Well, I think I might have found the secret. After spending a ridiculous amount of time studying guitarists from other bands and recording and performing in my own band, I think I've found some characteristics that uncover the truth of how your favourite band's guitarists get their parts to sound so good. Now, I guess these skills can apply to any sort of guitar style. However, in the alternative and indie world, there's not much virtuoso playing, and you're basically either serving the song or making great chords and melodies that are eventually going to be built into a song. And the beauty of the things that I've found are that you don't need to be the best guitar player in the world. I mean, I am certainly by no means a technical guitar player. There's plenty of bedroom guitarists who would just destroy me with their chops, but I do know how to get what I'm hearing out into the speakers. I'm going to split this into 5 points that I think are going to be most important to level up your playing. The first point is going to be timing. In my opinion, you can be an amazing guitarist playing on your own, but if you haven't got your timing down, as soon as you get into a band situation or playing with your mates, all of your technique's just going to fall apart. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to combat this, but they're all going to involve you playing to something that's keeping the time. Now, the easiest and simplest thing to do is to download a metronome app on your phone. Basically, it's going to allow you to set the tempo here at the top, and then when you press play, it's just going to play you a click track, like this. You can plug your headphones in and just play along to that. I mean, after a while, that thing is going to get quite annoying, but it does work. What I would actually advise though is taking it a step further and learning to play to some different drum beats, because they're just going to give you loads of different feels. There's plenty of beats on YouTube that you can play to for free, or you can take it that step further and get yourself an interface, something a little bit like this, and start recording into a DAW and playing along with the drums that they have there. Either you can make them your own or use whatever they've got. For example, Logic Pro's Drummer, which is what I like to use when I make these videos. Sitting in the pocket, as it's often called, is basically sitting with that bounce of the song and either driving the rhythm or complementing it. And to show you what I mean, I've basically done that here with Logic Drummer and just had some fun with it. I hope you kind of got what I meant there. Basically, playing in time allows you to actually not have to play as much, because you can allow there to be space and then join in and then really emphasize the rhythm. The reason I put timing as my first point is because I think it's so important to get that right, and then it will help you with everything else we're going to talk about. The next is knowing enough theory to make chord progressions and riffs quickly. Now look, I would hazard a guess and say a lot of the guitarists that are playing alternative and indie styles aren't that clued up on music theory. They're probably not classically trained, and a lot of it will be by ear. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find a guitarist who's playing in a band of the top level who doesn't at least know what chords are in a key. So for instance, the key of E is going to pop up here right now. We're not going to go through it because we can do that in another video, but just have a look at that and then you'll understand how you can add chords and make up progressions within certain keys. Now, the other bit of theory that I think is going to help you loads is just understanding your basic pentatonics and where those notes are on the neck. And I'm sure this is pretty elementary to a lot of you, but one of the things that helped me most was learning my relative major and minors. So again, we're going to use the key of E. Basically, if you have a song that's in E major, the relative minor of that is C sharp minor, the 6 of the E, So you can basically play your minor pentatonic on the C sharp minor, as long as you're landing on the E, which is always going to be 3 frets up from the C sharp. You're basically good to play in that scale. And I'm going to do that here now, and I had to add a lot of reverb to this to make it not sound ridiculously bluesy, but I think it sounds pretty cool. Now the next point actually moves on from learning enough theory to fall back on, and that is actually using your ears. So you obviously don't want to just completely use your ears, but at the same time you don't just want to be religiously sticking to theory, because I think that can actually hinder creativity a little bit. For instance, sometimes there's going to be things in songs that aren't technically right. Let's just quickly bring the chords of the key of E back up here. You can see that obviously there's major and minor chords, but sometimes swapping them for major when it should be minor can sound amazing. My favourite way to do this is to change the third chord from the minor to the major. I think it just sounds so cool doing that, and it does remind me of some of my favourite bands. And in fact, in my own band, October Drift, we have a song called Losing My Touch, and it's the chord progression 1, 2, 4, 1. And obviously the second chord is meant to be minor, but in that song we play it as a major, and I think it just sounds really cool. But next up is taking inspiration from outside of your comfort zone. Obviously you can just stick to playing the music you love, but I don't think that you'll develop as a guitarist as much as if you take things from other ideas and then try and kind of carve it into your own style. For instance, you might know that one of my favourite bands is Smashing Pumpkins, and I think that they could probably have ended up as just like another generic alternative grunge band, but I think one of the reasons that set them apart from some of their other peers was Billy Corgan's ability to take guitar sounds and ideas from outside of his comfort zone and bring it into his own style. For instance, Billy was obsessed with Black Sabbath, and he loved Tony Iommi's guitar sound. He even said in an interview with Guitar Magazine that Tony Iommi's tone was the blueprint for pretty much all of his music. I think I actually read somewhere that when he first played the Big Muff, it really reminded him of those early Sabbath sounds. But then blending it with other sounds is what I think made it so unique. For instance, he really loved the shoegaze bands like My Bloody Valentine. And in fact, he said in another interview that the MBV album Isn't Anything was a massive inspiration to the Smashing Pumpkins' Gish, particularly the last song, Daydream, in which Billy basically described it as a complete rip-off of the My Bloody Valentine sound. And I think that's something that you hear all through alternative music, where people have borrowed either from completely different genres or things that are just out of their comfort zone. So the lighter guitarists might add some fuzz or something, or vice versa, the heavier ones might play really clean at times. But let's move on to my final point, and actually the one that I think is my favourite and probably counterintuitive to a lot of stuff that you hear on YouTube and from guitar teachers in general. And it's actually putting tone and sounds first. We always get told to practice without our effects and stuff, and I understand that if you're trying to improve your technique, and I think there's a massive place for that. But when you're trying to develop your own style as a guitarist and your own riffs and stuff, sounds and tones are equally as important as technique. I mean, if you look at some of your favourite guitar parts of all time, probably a great deal of that will be coming from the actual sound of the guitar rather than the notes they're playing. I mean, imagine like The Streets Have No Name without any delay, or the My Iron Lung intro without the whammy pedal, or even Blur Song 2 with it being really jangly and clean in the intro and then absolutely exploding into that big bit. Like I said, I do understand what people are saying when they say practice without effects to get better at your technique. 100%. But some of the best music ever has been made by people who didn't really know what they were doing on their instruments. I mean, according to Rick Rubin, although Eddie Van Halen played piano as a kid, he hadn't really played keyboards, and when the producer put him on keys to play the song Jump, that eventually became his biggest song, and the guy was known for being an amazing guitarist. So actually, and even more so in alternative and indie genres, sometimes technique isn't the be-all and end-all. But it's that time again. Please like and comment below on your thoughts on this, and then watch this video here next. Until next time, keep on making noises.